的脸，
老师您好。
嗯
啊，你既然知道了，你可以啊，对，
啊啊，大家都可以开他们的视频，让我看你们的脸。
有个同学说他在外面不方便，
哦，我在外面，好
对，好，
啊，可以。
好，
好，现在开始第一个视频啊。正 means correct, or sometimes it means justice. When it appears at the bottom of a character, it usually appears as 正, as in the character 是. Originally, the line on top was a circle indicating a point of destination, such as a house or a walled city, not 书. 是 means true. Originally, it meant straight. It comes from sun, and complete, 正. The sun, dan, rises in the correct 正 place. It is subject to variant elimination rule C528. Fa means poor or lacking. Fa is the opposite of zheng. It is a foot coming to a stop. 200 years ago, if you were going to properly write Chinese characters, you should know the difference between zhi and sui. In the seal characters, that is Han Dynasty, they were different forms. But if we look back to the origin, they all have the same origin. They are a foot. In fact, there is no linguistic difference between the two. That is, there are no two characters that are only differentiated by these two components. They are two forms of the Kangxi radical number 35, and the Shouwen says the meaning is to go slowly. In most modern traditional fonts, you will only see zhi, and in simplified fonts, you will never see shui. In fact, when they were designing the first computer character set back in the 70s, they forgot to include the character sui. These two characters usually derive from a foot pointing to the left, or sometimes from a foot pointing down or up. You will usually see it at the bottom of a character such as xia, meaning summer, wei, meaning back and forth. Qua is a component that is derived from a foot facing left. Qua is a component that is derived from a foot facing right. Wei is a component that has 2 feet circling something in the middle. Sometimes they are 2 feet, sometimes there are 4 feet. Shouwen says it means back and forth. Modern dictionaries will tell you that it means leather. That is not the original meaning. The meaning of leather probably comes from wei is the usual simplification of wei, except in the case of wei, which has a special simplification wei. Wei means the woof of a loom, that is, the threads that are threaded through the warp with the shuttle. The feet indicate the back and forth motion of the shuttle. Wei means to encircle. It is another logical interpretation of wei. Wei means to guard or protect. It is probably also of the soldiers going back and forth on the streets. Wei is a special simplification only for wei. 我们看这些字，今天最近的几天，上一次跟今天，我们都是讲教的来源的字。这个字读 justice 意思。如果我们看它的状体字，我们可以看一个之，然后上面有一横。如果我们看那个经文或是甲骨文，我们看那个直那个教是往前走到一个目标的位置，所以这个是Last week we were talking about feet, and we will continue this week talking about some characters with the word foot in it. We have the character zheng. It means correct or justice. Its basic meaning is to complete or to get someplace. If we look at the seal character, we see the character zhi, and it's coming up to a line and stopping. That means it's complete. And we got where we wanted to go. If we look at the bronze character or the oracle character, it appears to be a foot that is traveling forward to a destination, and then it stops at the destination. So zheng means correct or complete. 是就是英文是 true 的意思。我们可以看下面有一个正，然后上面有一个日。在古代的时候，还有在一些异体字，我们看了有一些不一样的字，可以看一个 dan 是早上的意思。在甲骨文，我们也可以看一个早，就是早上的意思。所以是就是太阳来，我们可以确定是或是不是。这个有一个规矩叫 C528，因为以前的时候有一个异体字，有的时候可以看到它的写法有一点不一样。So we have the Chinese character 是, which means true, or it means is, or it means yes, depending on how you use it. It consists of a zheng on the bottom, which means complete, and a or sun on top. If we look at the variant characters, they might be a little different. One of them has a dan on top, which means sunrise. So the sun is coming up. The oracle character has a zao, which means morning on top. So the sun is rising. So the character means true, or it means you can see something. So when the sun comes up in the morning, you can see what's happening, and you can see what it really is. It's interesting, if you've ever camped out in the wilderness, there is no light at night, and you cannot see what is there. So you maybe imagine many things, but when the sun comes up, it makes it clear. You can see clearly what it was that you could not see at night. 所以有另外一个字就读法，这个是缺。你可以看这是一个反正，直这是一个右脚，反这是一个左脚，所以这个 比较确，不是正确的意思。八 if we look at the origin, we see that it comes from a left foot. Left, your left hand or your left foot is bad foot. Your right foot, it's your wrong foot. So it means poor or lacking. And the seal character, you can see the foot is reversed. 所以我们看这三个字，有没有人有问题或是要说话？
没有老师，没有。
啊，逻辑很明白，没问题。如果你看专体词，有两个字，一个读直，一个读水。你看它们差不多很像，可是有一点点不一样。如果你学繁体字，如果你200-300年以前学繁体的繁体字，你可以看两个构件，一个是直，一个是水。老师会说，你学这个字，你必须学用直或是水，分不清楚直跟水，它们基本是同一个字。有的时候在一个字体，你可以看得出来一个分别。可是这个，你看这个下面的夏，这是 summer。右边、左边跟右边，右边是一个简体，一个繁体字，你可以看下面的写的有一点不一样。可是现在的简体字，它们只有直，没有水，没有关系，它们基本是一样。如果我们看甲骨文，这两个是一个角，要看在什么地方写的，就是一个角。So we have two components here. 水. Most Chinese do not know the one on the right. In the seal characters from the Han Dynasty, they said that there were two different characters. One was zhi, one was shui. And if you were learning Chinese 200 years ago, your teacher would probably tell you the correct way or the wrong way to write various characters. Your teacher would tell you that you should either use a shui or a zhi. But nowadays, you can either hardly tell the difference or there is no difference. In the simplified characters, all of them use zhi. In fact, when they were forming the first traditional characters, they were so close that they forgot the shui. If we go back to the oracle characters, so here's something that it became different. They thought it was different, but then it just kind of went away. Any questions?
I want to ask Nancy. Few months ago, I asked about this summer, and then you explained that the hand covered the head because of the sun. 为什么
Say that again.
Few months ago, I asked about this summer, and then your explanation is the hand
Oh, yes.
cover the eyes because it's too hot. So it's
Oh, yes.
not a food, but this one is food.
Oh, if we look at the ancient character for sun, for summer, if we look at the ancient that there is a foot at the bottom. I'll try to find it for you. Job. So if we look at the characters for summer, we find that actually there are some characters that are not here. Let me see.
Which one?
Okay, if we look at the seal character, if we look this one, we can see a foot. Actually, these characters are not very good. So let me see if I can find a. If we see this character in the middle, we see on the bottom, the person has a foot.
Yes. Oh,
But on some of the characters, the person doesn't have a foot. But on all of the characters, okay, here the character person doesn't have a foot, but he's looking at the sun. Looking at the sun. Looking at the sun. So in ancient Chinese, there were two words. One was the Xia dynasty, and one was
这
summer.
个这是你自己的网站，鼠标反可以看到。
Okay,
鼠标啊，
this is my website, and you can see number 8 here.
你可以点开，再点一下。啊，对，
Here we can see this is a man's hand. This is a man's head. He is looking at the sun, and we can see his feet. But in maybe another character, in most characters, we can see his feet. But in this character, we cannot see the sun. Here's his foot.
往下拉。
And you can't see the feet. You can't see, but frequently you can see a foot on the bottom. And in ancient times, there were two characters, one for the Xia dynasty. It usually did not have a sun, but for summer, it usually did have the sun. So this is probably the best character here. You can see that man is standing, his hands up to the sun, and the word for summer, 夏天的夏，就是一个人白太阳，对吗？
对了，谢谢。
黄色，黄色，
哦，是啊，对，那个黄色的，哦，那个是橘子颜色的。So, yeah, okay, 那个是橘子颜色的。Okay, so next character has feet. And 在古代的时候，一个非常非常重要的工作是放线织布。织布的时候有一个织布机，织布机有向下的线，那个叫经线，然后也有右边、左边的线，那个叫纬线。你在这边那个纬线的那个梭子，它会从右边、左边、右边、左边，它会拿那个纬线过了那个经线，然后会织布。So in ancient times, weaving, spinning, and weaving were extremely important technologies. If you cannot spin and if you cannot weave, you don't have any clothes. A loom, and you have threads that go up and down or forward and backward. Those threads are called the woof, or those threads are called the warp. And the threads that go back and forth, right to left, are called the woof or weijing. In Chinese, the warp is called the jingxian, and the woof is called the weixian. What you see here is the original character for the woof. That's the threads that go right to left. And when you weave, you have a shuttle. The shuttle carries the threads back and forth, right to left, right to left. And so you see here a foot going to the left and then coming back, going to the right. So this indicates the woof threads, the threads that go right and left. And you can see two components. Both are pronounced qua. The one that looks like a 5 with no top, that's the foot going to the left. The one on the right, that's the foot going to the right. 有另外一个，我们有红卫兵的卫，这个是保护的意思。所以你有一个标音符号在中间，然后也有一个行，所以这个是说那个卫兵他们在路上走来走去，要保护老百姓。这个是有一个特别的简化的方法，这两个字有两个特别的简化的方法。微经的微，危险的危，你可以看它的简化的方法。然后卫兵的卫，你也可以看它有另外一个简化的方法。So the way on the right, it means to guard or protect. The way in the middle is a phonetic, and the street indicates that the soldiers go back and forth on the street, protecting us from any of the bad guys who might come to rob us. Any questions on these two characters? Any questions or comments? You all understand their
没有
meaning?
老师。
没有问题。好。So here we have, when we're, the original character, which we just saw, was the ancient character. Frequently, to get the traditional characters, they add something that indicates the meaning, just in case you forgot the meaning. So if you have a silk, if you have a thread on the left-hand side, that's the modern word, modern character for woof, the woof of a loom. 他们放一个米字旁在前面，常常在古代的汉字，他们的象形文字是非常简单的，然后它变成，它进步了，变成比较现代的，变成繁体字，他们会加一个构件，让你觉得比较清楚它的意思。在这个字里面，他们加了一个米字旁，所以你一看这个字，你会 In the middle, we have a character way, which means we have a square there, which is not the word for mouth. It's the word for something that encircles something like a wall. And in the middle, we have a way, which is only a phonetic. And on the right-hand side, which I just explained, it has a special simplification. And because guards, they walk up and down the street to protect us from the bad guys. So you have a street hung, you have a street hung, and a phonetic way. 所以有两个别的字，way 就是一个标音符号。你看这个大的口，这个字读way，你可以找到很多的词，是，比如说国的国，花园的园，这个是有一个墙壁是绕过全国的，或是绕过你的花园。然后我们已经讲了那个红卫兵的卫。Any questions on these three characters or comments? No. Fine. So we have like, let's see, we have about 10 minutes. So I'd like to have conversation, and you can tell me what words you have been learning, what characters you've been learning, what words you have been learning, and what's special about China or Chinese, or if you have any questions about characters. So let's have a little conversation. 你们最近有没有学过什么特别的 汉字、简体字、繁体字、繁体字。没有。
上课以后，我们可以问你，如果我们遇到很奇怪的汉字，上课以后，I mean after we finish this course, we can still ask you about them if we encounter
Yes.
something. Yeah, because I don't know if you have time, because you have so many students. If you still have
Uh,
time for us after we finish the course.
Anybody who wants to friend me on Weixin, I will friend you. Maybe if there's interest, we can make a little group. And I don't always, yeah.
You mean other group than the one that we already have?
We have a class group, right?
Yeah.
But I think that class might be related to the language university. I'm not sure. 它跟那个医院大学有关系，对不对？
啊，对，但是没关系，什么都可以说。
以后我们下课之后。
这个群应该还在。
Okay, we can use that one. I will try to keep an eye on it.
And after you can send us, or you can send us your personal WeChat if you have one,
Okay.
and friend on there.
Okay, I will send you my personal WeChat too, so you
Thank
can
you.
friend me.
Thank you
That would
very
be
much.
that would be easier
Because
yeah. Go ahead. You sure?
because to learn Chinese is a journey, not a trip, and
Oh.
we still have much to learn. We have a lot to learn.
Yeah, so it will be easier to see you, yeah, if you friend me directly.
谢谢.
Yeah, okay. Any other things that you've learned or questions you
Lassie.
have?
Oh, but so thin. There is a Pihua is about
I can't hear you very well. Say that again.
so there is a Pihua 是样跟那个 represent sick ill.
The sound is breaking up. I can't hear you very well. So write the question either in English or Chinese.
I write the message.
Okay.
好。他说，瘦，大家可以比划 about illness。他说瘦的笔画里面有一个是 illness。瘦。你想开什么？
开我的网站。So if you look at my website, you can usually get the character broken down and then think about it. So this is show, and it has the usual man on the sick man on the side. When you look at I have to simplify this, but You can see the character decomposition here. Character decomposition here. And you can see the part here that's me. You usually don't get skinny unless you're sick. So if you're too skinny, it probably means there's something wrong with you. You're sick. Oh, yeah. And the thing inside is usually the phonetic. And this is a hand on the bottom, fire, and a building. So when you go into a dark building, you want to have a light. In ancient times, they had a torch, which had fire. So this saw, it's only a phonetic in this character for being skinny, but its original meaning was to look into a dark place, to take a fire or torch into your house so you can see at night. So if you look at my website, you can look at the character decomposition. That should help you a lot in breaking down any of the characters. 有没有问题？
这个很有意思。
对啊。
谢谢。
So fat is good.
What is what?
So never get skinny. But girls love skin, to be skinny.
Where's the question? 那个问题。
瘦为什么表示 illness？它有
Oh.
一个 illness。
Oh, because why is it an illness? If you have somebody, how do you draw a picture of someone who is thin? In ancient China, people were only thin if they were starving. People were only thin if they were dying of some disease. So if you are too thin, it means you are sick. It's one way to represent thin. It's probably because you're sick, or probably because you're starving. And so they have the bing or ne on the side that indicates you are not in good health. Good eye 的时候 ，good eye 的时候，如果你不够吃，你会太如果你有其他的病，你会太瘦。如果你是健康的话，你不会太瘦。所以他们代表这个瘦的意思。他们会用一个病字旁。我说病字旁那个字读呢，所以逻辑是这样子。你明白吗？
明白老师，谢谢。
老师，谢谢。
好。好。
你可以接受一下骄傲的骄傲。
骄傲的傲。
骄傲的傲 ，OK。
是这个里面吗？
对。
还是看？
都可以。
还是你的网站？
好。
要是这个 Safari。我给你搜索。
OK，如果你看我的网站，你可以看， decomposition. It's a ren and it's an ao. So sometimes in using my analysis, you'll have to look at multiple characters. Sometimes I have decomposition notes, but not in all cases. So it means to write, it means to travel. So let's take control. I'm using a computer here.
我来弄，我来弄。
I'm not using my regular computer here, so it's a bit. I'm pushing it.
好，是这个吧？
Okay. So if we look at this character, the Jiao the Ao, there's a person, and then we have this character here. So a person who can travel, this character 有不同的观点，这个也可能是骄傲的意思，所以也是 traveling 的，它本来的意思是 travel. So its original meaning was to travel, but we can see in the bronze character, at least one of them, we can see that there's a person, and it looks like the person maybe has some feathers on their head. On the right-hand side, we see an action symbol, a hand with a tool. So that means action. It means it's a verb. If you see that, means that there's an action. So we're talking about a verb here. So there's a couple of different thoughts. Some people think it's a man with long hair or fancy hair. Some people think it's in any case, it's probably a man with some sort of headdress that looks fancy, and so he's proud. And 我不知道你懂不懂我的意思。你看这个部分，这个右边的这个仆，这是一个收跟一个公主，这个就是说是一个动词。最后的我们看那个经文，这个是不容易确定是什么东西，可是我们可以看，好像是一个人，上面有一个人，上面可能他的头上有漂亮的一个帽。Comes from pictograph of a man, maybe with a headdress. So he's very proud and he's out traveling. That's about all I can say. 我这个不容易确定。明白吗？不明白。喂，有没有人在？ Anybody there? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
老师，我
对老师
会你。
都很静止。
So 你可以看这个，然后一步一步，你可以自己看，然后你可以思考我分析的，然后你也可以思考你有没有别的分析的方法？现在几点
44分。
40分。
44。
44. Okay. So how about we take a break for 10 minutes and then come back?
Okay.
I'll
about-
see you in 10 minutes. 好，我们回来。 第二个视频。行 or xing has the basic meaning of street. It also means to go. It is derived from a pictograph of a street intersection from chi on the left and zhu on the right. Chi is a component, half of the character xing, meaning half of the road intersection. Jing means to pass by. Zhu is a component. It is also half of the character xing, meaning half of a road. In fact, there are no common characters that have zhu as a component. In ancient times, cities were laid out with roads, usually parallel. It would happen that all the people selling the same type of wares would be on the same street. There would be a street where all the stores sold wood products, and another street where all the vendors sold pottery products, and yet another street where the shopkeepers sold liquid products such as alcohol and oil. These products were labeled as 5 types. Wu Xing means 5 elements. The Chinese 5 elements are metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. There are classical elements of Empedocles, who was a Greek. His 4 elements were earth, air, fire, and water. The people who sold ceramic products were experts in ceramics, which is made from earth. The people from that street were called Neham, which means insiders or inside that street, or actually it means experts. Waihang means people from some other street or outside the street, or people who don't know about type of expertise, non-experts. Note that sometimes it is pronounced Xing, which is from the northern or Mandarin pronunciation, and sometimes it is pronounced Hang, which is from the southern or Cantonese pronunciation. Actually, both pronunciations are used in Putonghua. Renxing Dao means a pedestrian crosswalk.好，所以我们看那个行星，这个是一个十字路口，它基本的意思是路或是要移动的、散步的。它有2个部分，在周边的赤，你常常看到在很多的字的里面。如果你看那个赤在周边，它是一个动作的意思，所以有一个字叫进，这个是要过去的意思。然后右边的它也有一个字出，可是这个字很少看到。So there's a character, sometimes pronounced hang, sometimes pronounced xing, depending on where you use it. It originally comes from intersection, so it means street or it means to go. And it's broken into 2 halves. We have many characters that have a chi on the side, and it actually comes from the left-hand side of xing or hang. If you see a chi on the side, it always indicates some kind of motion. The character jing means to pass by. We learned the character jing, well, it means the warp of a loom. So you can see, if you look at the pictograph, how it changed from the original street to the modern 行 or 姓？有没有问题？我问你一个问题，我问你们一个全部 in the whole world, the best piece of art that anybody ever did in the entire world. 你可以叫它清明上，
paintings.
这个就是一部分。So think about it. What is the best piece of art work in the history of the world?
是 paintings 吗，老师？图画。
Yeah, paintings or anything you think is art. What is the best art in the history of the world? I think you can think about it and we can talk about it in after. I think I didn't prepare this. I think that in my opinion, the best piece of art in the history of the world is something called the Qingming Shanghe Tu. 我觉得在我的观点，全世界的最好的一块艺术药品，艺术的是清明上河图，这个是差不多2尺高，差不多30几尺长，里面有1万多个人，有5个人画这个图，他们用5年画了，从1736到1741年。那在这边你看的可能不清楚，可是你可以看，我把这个移动了，然后你可以看，慢慢看，每一个地方都有老百姓，他们是做很多的日常做的事情。In my opinion, is something called the Qingming Shanghe Tu. It's the Qing and Ming dynasty. There's two, one's Qing and one's Song. This is Qing. It was made in the Qing dynasty by 5 artists from 1736 to 1741. And it's about 30 feet long, about 2 feet high, and it has more than 10,000 people in it, doing everything in life, from getting born to getting birth. It's called Qingming Shanghe Tu. It comes from Qingming Jie, which is a tomb sweeping day, and it's about it basically is along a river, life along the river, the Yangtze River. Let's go back. Let's see. So here you have only one section. This is about 2.5 feet from of this painting. 你可以看这个部分，这个是差不多2尺半。那个画，原来的画好像是60尺长。如果你详详细细的看，里面有很多的人，他们做很多的事情。那个图，清明上河图里面有1万多个人，他们做非常多的事情。你可以学很多很多的古代的中国人的日常生活，这个很厉害。So I think this is just one section. You can look at it for a minute or two. And if you look very carefully, you can see all kinds of people doing all kinds of things. There are more than 10,000 people in this picture. So going on, the 5 elements in Chinese are in Greek, or the 4 elements in Greek. First of all, there's 5 elements in Chinese: shui, mu, huo, tu, jing, fire, earth, and metal. The Greeks, they were thinking about chemistry. They were thinking about alchemy. They thought that all things were made out of some combination of air, fire, earth, and water. 4 elements. So they're different. Any questions? So 现在很多的人啊，现在很多的人他们觉得这个叫五行，很多的人这个觉得这个五行阴阳五行，我们常常说阴阳五行是四境。在中国我们有阴跟阳，然后很多的人有迷信的人，他们觉得有五行。然后如果你研究过针咒，有14行，14不是14行，14境。So the 5 elements in China are important to many belief systems. There's the yin and the yang, and the 5 elements, and the 14 medians. In acupuncture, they believe that there are 14 things called medians, which are lines that run through the body, and they carry yin and yang and 5 elements. And if you stick pins in the right place, you can cure people of their ailments. That's acupuncture. We also have moxibustion, which is you place kind of a fire or heat on these acupuncture points, and some people believe can improve your health. 有没有问题或是意见？有没有人学过针灸，或是有没有人相信易经？ How many people believe in the I Ching? Anybody? Yes? No? Yes? And we can talk about that. So in ancient times, here's another piece of the Ming Chan. In ancient cities, the cities would be laid out so that on one street, you would have all the potters on one street, and all the people who sold thread and fabrics on another street, and all the people who sold metal products on another street. Most cities in the world were organized like this. 在古代的城市里面，会有很多的好几条路，有一条路可能有人是拍卖木头做的东西，另外一条路是有人会拍卖金属做的东西，另外一条路是可以拍卖防线织布的产品。So we have the idea of you've heard about the Wu Xing, which means It literally means 5 streets. And so I think this comes from the fact that on different streets, they sold different things. In Chinese, we have several words. Neihang. Neihang means expert, or it means insider. It actually means, the 2 characters means inside the street, or the people who from that street were experts on the street. They were experts on pottery. So Neihang means expert. Waihang means outside the street, or people who are not from your street, people who do not know about your expertise. So they were non-experts. Waihang. 所以古代的时候有内行的，如果有一个人是从你的那条路，他大概知道你的，大概跟你的专长有同一个，他会理解你的特殊的，你特别卖的东西，所以他是内行的。英文中文嘛可以说是专家。如果他不懂你的那个商业，他可能是另外一条路来的，他是外行的。所以这个有五行，内行、外行，这个同一个字，可是它的读法不一样。另外一个字是人行道，所以这个是人走路的道，所以这个是英文叫一个 pedestrian crosswalk，一个人走过马路。So you have this character, and when you talk about the 5 elements, it's pronounced 五行. When you talk about experts or non-experts, it's 内行, 外行. And if you talk about crossing the street, it's 人行道。有没有问题？
没有，
有没有意见？
没有老师。
好，好。所以现在有这些是关于行的。有没有问题？有没有意见？
目前没有。
我们可以，好，我们可以看下一个视频。Bo is a remnant of feet going forward from a right foot zhi and a left foot ta. It is found at the top of several characters. Means to go up or go forward or climb onto. It is 2 feet going forward, bo, and the ritual vessel do, originally a person carrying a ritual vessel for an offering. Dung, in its standalone form, is not simplified, but in context, it is subject to the following rules. Dung lu means to log in. Dung means flame or lamp. It comes from the simplification rule A045. Both characters are traditional characters. They both have essentially the same meaning. Dung meaning flame and dung meaning lamp. The simplified form comes from fire and the phonetic ding. Zheng means evidence, but it also means to blame or prove. And symptoms as in zheng. The simplification comes from rule A328. The logic comes from the character yan, which means to speak, and the phonetic zheng, which also means complete. Dung is a family name and a place name. It is simplified according to the rule A046. It comes from E, which means city, and the remnant yo, which is a cursive form of the phonetic dung. Chung is anticipation, It comes from the variant elimination rule C068, but it is a little complicated. Cheng means to purify water by allowing sediment to settle, clear, pure. It comes from water, shui, and the phonetic deng, meaning to ascend. After 1988, they resurrected the old form of the character. Cheng, meaning still water, is from water, shui, and the phonetic zheng, meaning to summon. There are a number of other common characters for which deng is a phonetic, but the character does not get simplified. Deng, meaning stool or bench, comes from phonetic ji, which is not the same as shu, and the phonetic deng, which is 2 feet ascending. It is subject to the variant elimination rule C119. But when two characters are this closely related, it is the kind of character you can easily guess at, especially in the context. Deng means to stare at. It comes from I, mu, and the phonetic ascending deng. It is not simplified. Deng means to step on. It comes from foot, zhu, and the related phonetic deng. It is also not simplified.
最后的很复杂，你可以讲一讲。
这一讲，
对，最
对
后的汉字看起来很复杂。
啊，这个很复杂，
对
汉字很复杂吗？
对，
所以我们看这个词，这个字，这个构件，这个不是一个字，这个是一个构件。像这个读波，
哎，你
然后上面啊，
等，
呃，
这个是等的汉字很复杂，对我来说。
oh yes, dung is a little difficult. So on the top part, we have 2 feet going forward. You can see the zhi and the backward zhi. One is the right foot, one is the left foot. Note how it gets changed. The left foot becomes to look kind of like a yo, almost like a yo, but not a yo. The right foot gets, notice how it gets changed. So we have zhi on the bottom, we have zhi right foot, ta left foot. 你可以看那个上面的右指右脚左脚，然后上面的2个构件，对，你可以看它们演变了。我们看那个状体字，2个脚，然后有另外一个状体字在下面，有的时候下面也可以看这个变。我们以前的时候学过发，发就是发达的发，从八的来源。你可以看这个下面的几个字，可是现在要看那个灯的上面。In Chinese, we have the word, the character deng. We can say deng lu, which means to log onto. Notice that in English we log onto. So deng means to get up on or ascend to. In ancient times, when you brought a gift to the gods, you would step up to the altar, step up on the steps to the altar and you would bring something to the gods. So you can see in the oracle version, the hands are bringing something to the gods and the feet are moving forward. 所以这个灯，这个字很有用，这个是登录的登，这个是上面有两个角，下面有一个豆，这个豆现在是豆子的豆，可是古代的时候它是一个容器，你去拜神的时候，你要带一个服务给他，一个礼物给他，所以你可以登那个台上了。那个状体字你可以看下面有两个手，拿了一个豆，两个脚往前走。现在你可以看这个下面，这个现在英文我们说登录。Any questions on these characters? They're a bit complicated, but any questions here
Yes.
or comments?
Those
What?
都是不是饼？
Yes, dough now means bean, but originally 你可以找到一个 dough， good
豆
idea
子
dough，
的豆，在你的网站上吗？
对，这我对。我下面有一图片，
啊，没有吗？
没有图片，
病吗？
一个东，一个 dough。不是，有一
啊，
个
那个兵器是吗？
对，兵器，不是兵器，是容器。Let me find a picture of a dough for you. OK， 在古代的时候，中国人有这个东西，这个是个 dough， 所以你可以看这个，这个是豆子的豆，因为它的读法跟豆子一样，所以变成豆子的意思。可是它本来就是这个东西，你要去拜神，你会放食物在这个里面，然后会给神。So this is a Chinese ritual vessel. In ancient times, when you went to the temple, you would maybe use this and put some food in emperor or to the mayor or something. So this character, because it's pronounced dough, it came to mean beans because beans are also pronounced dough. But 下面的东西就是两个手带一
我有一个问题，一朵花
什么问题？
看起来一样吗？
一个
一朵
花
花，对，a bunch of flower. So
？Yes.
it looks similar, like this though.
Can you show me a picture?
这
Will
一
send to you one.
一朵花里面的花，它们都是一样的。
不是一不一样，一朵花是另外一个字。
哦，对，
树，它是你是不是说的是这个字？他说的是不是这个字？
不是，
一束花，a bunch of flowers。
你说一束花或是一朵花？
一朵花，
一朵花。 对，一朵花的写法是一朵花的朵
哦，谢
是
谢，
这样子，
谢谢。
对。
朵
Bean，
哦，
yeah。现在可以看这个。OK，下一个。
这个 orange。
So when they simplified dung, they made a real mess. You can see several different characters here and the rules. We had the first character, you have the traditional character for a lamp, where there's a fire and there's a dung, which is a phonetic. And they simplified it to a ding. Okay, that's the first. Yeah, when they simplified dung, they simplified it in different ways in different places. Very stupid. So you have simplification rule A045. This means light or lamp. And they simplified it from dung lu de dung to ding zi de ding. 所以他们简化汉字有很多的字在旁边有一个登录的登，可是他们简化在不同的地方，他们简化用不同的方法。这个是一个电灯的灯，或是一个油灯的灯，本来是一个登录的灯，然后变成一个钉子的钉。可是另外一个词读证，这是证明的证，英文叫 evidence or proof， 可是也是高的意思，也是 blame 的意思。因为人家会讲话，所以有一个言字旁一个灯。这个简化那个灯是变成一个正，所以这个他们有两个简化的方法，一个是 A328，一个是 A0045。你看两个地方那个灯是简化，有两个方法。So here we have two rules to simplify one character. One of the rules simplified dung to a ding, and the other simplified dung to a zheng. But there was already the character zheng. So I put that both characters here.
嗯
And 有另外一个字，他们有一个姓邓的，姓邓的人，比如说邓小平。有没有人你们都听过邓小平吗？
这是人民的人。
最后的国王吗？
最好的国王。Okay, there is a guy named Deng Xiaoping. He was a very short guy. He was he was the president of China for a while. He made a lot of reforms. His name was Deng Xiaoping. And there was another famous singer called Deng Lijun. Deng Lijun was a bit taller than Deng Xiaoping. Deng Lijun was a beautiful girl from Taiwan. She was a beautiful singer, a famous singer. Everybody in China knows Deng Lijun. Of course, everybody in China also knows Deng Xiaoping. In fact, Deng Xiaoping was very short. He was 5'10", and Deng Lijun was probably 5 foot. Deng Xiaoping was 4'10", and Deng Lijun was over 5 feet. So they call him Little Deng and Big Deng, Da Deng Xiao Deng. 在中国，可是这个路的灯，他们简化变成一个优秀的。So this is a story in China everybody knows, but for the name Deng, which originally had a Deng Lu in it, Deng Lu, just a yo. So, and in the rest of the characters, they didn't simplify Deng. So when a new rule, yet another rule, A046. 有没有问题？有没有意见？
Oh, I never saw that. Character simplified
yeah.
into different ways.
In what?
A character simplified into different ways.
Yes, actually, Deng is simplified in 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yes.
Here we have actually 5 different ways. So here we have a rule. I will tell you a bit about simplified rules in Chinese. They have 7 tables. They had 7 tables, and the tables have all been changed in the past 70 years. One table was a table that eliminated variant characters. There were 810 rules. They eliminated 1,055 characters. And so you have this character Cheng. According to the rule C068, they threw away the one on the right and they simplified it to a Cheng. And then in 1988, they said it was okay to use again. So we have 2 characters, Cheng and Cheng. One of them has a Deng on the side, one of them has a Zheng on the side, and they mean the same thing. This is how Chinese simplify Chinese. Aren't Chinese clever? 有没有意见？有没有问题？
Have one.
I think I see this Chong. It's like Wang. 是吗？往前走王。
往简州是吗？
往前走。
你写给我在网上。
你可以在 group 里面写一下。Hello。
哦，有点不一样。这个老师，
不一样。
这
我
个
有一个问题，老师。
有点不一样。这个更长。
So this is how Chinese simplify Chinese. They did it on purpose just to mess up foreigners.
老师，我有一个问题。
什么问题？
你说咱们是把 年以前，他们开始简单的按钮，但是他们还做的，I mean they are still simplifying the characters because
Yes,
you said that they changed the table, so it's not they still simplified, they still make new rules.
not very many differences, but over the past 70 years, they have made several changes. In 1970 and 1988 and 2013 and 1965.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
And so,
老天啊
so yeah, so it's a bit complicated. Yeah, they have made, most of it is the same, but they have changed a number of characters. But most Chinese don't know that.
Okay, that's
Most,
reassuring. For a foreigner
Yeah.
learning Chinese, that's reassuring.
it's like I'm one of the experts on how things got simplified. But most people just learn a few thousand characters, and 如果他们用简体字或是繁体字，或是在普通的时候，不会有很大的影响。In most cases, it doesn't change much, and most people don't even know about the changes.
I understand.
I only know about the changes because I studied them all.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. But most people don't know. They just learn one or both, one or the other. And
They stick with
with modern computers, if you set them for simplified, they do simplified. If you set them for traditional, they do traditional. And so most people do not know they are not knowledgeable about the difference.
they do not know the difference between traditional and simplified. They know both of them.
They can recognize both, but most people do not. They learned one or the other. And when you use your computer, when you use your computer will automatically input either simplified or traditional. So
Computer is set on simplified because that's what we learn. It's simplified Chinese, not traditional Chinese.
yes, so your computer,
Yeah. Yeah.
so your computer will, when you will only input simplified
Yes.
Chinese. So your life is much simpler.
In that aspect, yes. I have one
Yes.
other question. What happened to traditional Chinese? They still have books in traditional Chinese? I mean, I know the new ones are printed in simplified, but the old ones, they can still be readable, right?
In Taiwan and Hong Kong and Southeast Asia, they still use traditional characters.
Yes. These simplification rules, they don't agree with that.
They don't agree, yes. But usually you can, if you are reading an ancient book, you can usually find the book in traditional characters.
Okay.
And so it's, but mostly it's simplified characters.
For example, I was reading the strange stories that with the phantoms. I was
Yes.
lucky enough to find the additional simplified characters.
Traditional, You have traditional?
No, I have simplified characters in that book.
Yes. Yeah, they simplified. In most books, you will find the simplified characters.
I don't read the traditional characters very well. And in your exam was the
Yes.
most traditional, so it was a little bit challenging.
Yes. Well, because of the course, I want to teach you from the beginning to simplify.
Yes, I know, but I managed to do it
Yeah.
somehow.
Good.
What about the other? There will be another exam or at the end of this semester, because sometimes teachers said to us that some teacher will give us exams now, or there is that only that one for this semester.
Oh, I think I'll probably wait till maybe the second to the last class.
Oh,
You want me to, I'll give it to you the second to the last class.
the second.
Second to the last class. 不是最后一堂课，是前面一个星期的那堂课，我给你的考试。
But doesn't mean that in this semester is the next semester, right? Semester.
So far,
with the
they
all
have-
characters, or just the one that we didn't
you mean
yeah.
Probably all of the characters, but mostly second half.
Okay. 谢谢
Half. Okay, half and half.
谢谢
Now, and we have three more characters. Dung, which means bench or stool. Dung, which means to stare at, and dung, which means to step on. 你可以看那个凳 bench 的下面有一个勾肩，那个叫级，那个是 stool 的意思。它的简化的方法是 CEE 就。我等你的等，然后有一个灯，然后灯在椅子上有一个柱子旁一个灯。So we have three cases where dung is a phonetic and it is not simplified. Dung means a stool or bench, and there's a new component G, which is actually comes from a pictograph of a stool. Dung means to stare, and it has a muzipang. It has an eye on the side. And dung means to step on or to step up on. It has a ju or leg on the side. So 我们现在还有1分钟，有没有问题？有没有人要说什么意见或是要说话？Any questions or comments? Wait.
没有老师。
Okay, so it's about time. So I will see you next week if there are no questions. 我下个星期如果没有问题，我下个星期再见。
再见老师
好
谢谢
好。
再见，老师，谢谢。
老师再见。
再见老师
再
谢谢
见。 再见，老师，谢
好
谢，辛苦了，晚安。
嗯，
谢谢
晚安。
老师。
谢谢老师，老师再见。
好。